Eleanor lived a quiet, solitary life in her small apartment. The city's hum was a distant backdrop. The silence was her companion, until the mirrors changed. They felt different, watchful, cold, deep. One evening, her reflection lagged behind. She froze, staring at herself. She shook it off, but the unease lingered. Sometimes she'd see a flicker. The feeling grew, impossible to ignore. The glass seemed to hold more than just her image. Deep down, she knew. The mirrors were watching. The days grew shorter, the sky a constant gray. Eleanor's world shrank. Groceries arrived at her door and she stopped answering calls. The silence in her apartment became oppressive, her thoughts loud and restless. Work suffered, words blurred, her mind fogged. She felt disconnected, her own hands foreign. The isolation built a wall around her. She ignored messages from friends, unable to explain her growing fear. Sometimes she wondered if she was losing her mind. The unease around the mirrors sharpened into dread. She covered the hallway mirror, turned the dressers to the wall. But the bathroom mirror remained, unavoidable. Every morning and night, she faced the woman in the glass. The woman who was starting to look like a stranger. Objects in her apartment shifted. Books, cups, keys. She doubted her own memory, her own reality. The mirrors felt alive, their presence constant. She tried to hide, but there was no escape. The reflection's gaze was always waiting. She felt watched, even in the dark. The line between her and the image blurred. She was no longer sure which side she belonged to. The mirrors had become her prison, and the reflection, her captor. The bathroom became a place of dread. Under harsh light, there was nowhere to hide from her reflection. At first, the image mimicked her perfectly. Then, small things changed. A fleeting smile, a delayed movement. She'd wash her face, open her eyes, and see a smirk vanish. Was it a trick of the light? She wiped the glass, searching for proof. One night, tying her hair, her reflection's hands lagged behind. She froze, so did the image. They stared at each other, the silence thick. The incidents grew, blinks out of sync, a head tilt she didn't make. Each time it was gone in a flash, leaving her doubting her sanity. Was she imagining it? Or was the woman in the mirror becoming someone else? The reflection felt like a separate entity, a silent twin living in the world of glass. She tried to ignore it, but the fear grew. The mirror was no longer just a surface, it was a doorway, and something on the other side wanted in. She felt herself slipping, reality bending. The woman in the mirror was no longer just her. Paranoia took root, growing wild in Eleanor's mind. She was convinced something inside the reflection watched her. She whispered to it, desperate for answers. The reflection only stared, silent and knowing. She doubted her own memories. Objects moved, details blurred. The poison of uncertainty seeped into everything. Her own face changed, tired, pale, hollow. But the reflection looked stronger, more alive. It smiled more often, eyes bright with confidence. It was thriving as she withered. She spent hours searching for proof, but the reflection was clever. It gave her just enough to keep her doubting. The fear fed it, made it stronger. She felt her life force slipping away, bit by bit. The woman in the glass was becoming real. Eleanor was becoming a shadow. She stared at the mirror, desperate to reclaim herself. But the reflection only watched, patient and unyielding. The line between them faded. She was losing herself to the woman in the glass, and the reflection was winning. The world outside faded. Her life became a silent conversation with her reflection. She tried to fight back. Bold gestures, funny faces, frantic dances. For a while the image mimicked her perfectly, but exhaustion always won, and the reflection would smirk, triumphant. Fear became her constant companion, filling every corner of her apartment. She felt watched from every surface, spoons, screens, windows at night. There was no escape. Her own image was everywhere. Yet a strange connection grew. The reflection knew her better than anyone. It had seen her at her most vulnerable. In a twisted way, it was her only companion. The line between them blurred. Sometimes she wasn't sure which one was real. Was she the woman or the copy? The reflection seemed more alive, more certain. She felt herself dissolving, becoming less real. The mirror was no longer just glass. It was a portal, and the other side was calling. She stared, searching for herself, but all she saw was the woman in the glass, and she was losing the fight. What makes a person real? The question haunted Eleanor. She traced her palm, trying to anchor herself in her body. But the reflection's hand sometimes moved on its own. If the image could think, could act, was it not real too? She clung to memories. Childhood, her mother's soup, summer rain. But even those felt distant, as if they belonged to someone else. The reflection seemed to hold them more clearly, smiling at memories that left Eleanor hollow. The world inside the mirror felt more substantial than her own. She pressed her hand to the glass, tempted to step through. Was peace waiting there, or oblivion? Her identity crumbled. She was no longer sure who she was. The reflection was no longer just an image. It was a possibility, an alternative, and it was winning. The question was no longer who was real. It was who deserved to be, and the answer was slipping away. One stormy night, the power died. Eleanor lit a candle and on impulse turned the mirror to face her. In the flickering light, the reflection looked calm, certain, more real than Eleanor herself. She moved closer, pressing her fingers to the glass. The reflection didn't mimic, it responded palm to palm. For the first time, there was no doubt. The woman in the mirror was real and waiting. A strange calm washed over Eleanor. The fear that had haunted her faded, replaced by inevitability. She gazed into the reflection's eyes, seeing a silent promise. The woman in the mirror smiled, gentle and inviting. Come, it's time. Eleanor felt the struggle end. There was no more fighting. She let herself be drawn in. The glass was no longer a barrier. It was a doorway. She stepped forward, surrendering to the other side. The reflection welcomed her. The storm outside faded to a distant memory. The world inside the mirror was quiet, still. She was no longer afraid. The woman in the glass had won, and Eleanor was gone. Eleanor let the mirror draw her in. The glass felt like cool water as her hand passed through. On the other side, the world was a perfect, silent replica. She watched her reflection step out into the apartment, alive and real. Eleanor, trapped in the glass, tried to call out, but had no voice. The exchange was complete. Only one remained, and she was in control. Morning light filled the apartment. The woman who was once a reflection woke in Eleanor's bed, feeling real and alive. She met her reflection, pale, terrified, mimicking her every move. She smiled. The reflection did not. She was beautiful, solid, in control. The apartment was no longer quiet. It was filled with possibility. Only one woman was real. The other, just a memory in the glass. The world belonged to the woman outside the mirror.